Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. I'm joined by my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot, Rob.
Hello.
Oh man, Dusk Till Dawn spoiler season. What a journey. It's very short journey. Like 3 days of just extremities, just
Yeah,
um,
I
back to back to back.
came out of nowhere too. Like I was just kind of,
It
I
did
wasn't like that ingrained, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, a flood of spoilers, and
on the Friday, just
yeah,
boom, right?
hit us on Canada
Um,
Day weekend too. So that's a
and fun Canada Day weekend,
special
yeah. So
coincidence.
yeah, this episode is gonna come out on Independence Day, I think.
July 4th.
Yeah, July 4th, American
Yep.
Independence Day. So
Yep.
happy Independence Day for all the American viewers here. And with that, this is going to be our top 10 breakdown. We've kind of moved past literally reviewing every single spoiler card
Hmm.
because it's a
A
lot of
lot of
work.
effort, and a lot
It's
of people don't want to see
I
someone
don't
review every card. So we're kind of just gonna give our top 10 list, like we did for Outsiders. I think we'll just keep doing it
yes.
this way.
It's easier because it's a supplemental set, so there's no like limited. Like we don't really have to like for
That's
a
true. You don't
limited
have to consider that
event
as an option for it being in the top 10, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
This is top 10. I think the caveat is this based on what we've seen. We've seen most of the set at this point, other than maybe one or two cards based on recording. And this is really based on objective strength of the card. This is not based on meta. This is not
That's
based
true.
on like some obscure builds. Like we're in the process of kind of looking through. This is just like the objective top 10 lists
Yeah, and
based
things
on
that
what.
are interesting, like that caught our eye, that have potential, I think, is
Yep.
are going to be the criteria we're going to be looking at for these cards. So I think mainly
Sure.
potential, like interesting stuff that's
Yeah.
potential. Yeah.
Yeah, there will be caveats. We will kind of mention whether there'll be like a couple special mentions, of course,
Hmm.
that are kind of definitely would be in a top 20, just not really for a top 10, just based on what we see right now. And without further ado, Rob, take us away here.
Yeah, so I've got a big old card on the screen. This is Lumina Lance. This was spoiled. Basically a powerhouse of an attack reaction card.
Yeah.
So first of all, yellow, zero cost, blocks three. Bolton loves all those things. It's just amazing. And the effect is, as an additional cost to play this, you banish up to three cards from your soul. So up to. You can banish one, two, or three. Or zero, I guess, if you want. But then the number of cards you banish then gives you one more of these options on the card. So at
Yep.
most, if you banish three cards from soul, you give your light attack plus two. You then give it the on hit, where you draw a card. And when it hits as well, it gains go again. So
Sure.
I look at this card and I'm like, this is like Snatch with go again on a stick, right? You can give basically any attack the ability to draw a card and then gain go again. So,
Well,
and
light attack, but yeah, I got it.
yeah, yeah. But if you're
Yeah,
running this, you're basically a light hero anyway. But yeah, you're
yeah.
right. Any light attack. So, that's a lot of power for a card, I think. And Bolton charges pretty frequently, so you're likely going to have at least one or two cards to banish from Soul to be able to use this.
Yes.
So yeah, I think enough said about it. I think it's gonna be really good. Every Bolton's gonna play three copies of it. It does everything you want
Yes.
in a Bolton deck. I
Yeah, I
think.
think I think on that, like the flexibility of this card is insane. The fact that like because when you look at Celestial Cataclysm, which is like say the same dude in the sky here,
Yeah, he's back.
pretty much the same guy, he's back, right? That one you had to banish three cards to get the seven go again, and the fact that Lance is up to three is very
Yep.
strong. You don't always need multiple pieces. Like even up to one when this hits game go again at the attack reaction stage. Very good for Bolton because you don't need like the Bolton trigger to like take out a soul. Yeah, you're spending an extra card, but it is a
Hmm.
guaranteed go again on hit, right? You don't need that because like against Bolton, if they just don't block and you don't have a pump, you can't gain go again unless it has go again from some other source, right? If
Yeah.
it's just like a regular charge card, it won't for that opener for your opening card. So Luminal Lance gives you like the flexibility to turn any card into an opener on hit, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then when it draws a card, I think charge banishing two cards is pretty reasonable with Luminal Lance. I think all three might be pushing it.
Yeah.
But I think like the draw card go again. So the draw card replacing itself, right? So Lance will replace itself, and getting the go again is quite good. I don't know how much the plus two is going to come into play here, but I think the other two alone are
Yeah.
definitely well worth it. And it's a yellow, so you can charge it. You can charge this card into your soul.
You can.
So it covers
Yeah.
all the bannerests and stuff like that. So it seems to
Right.
like
It's
yellow
yeah.
in soul is the trend here.
Exactly. All right. That's number one on the list. Next we've got.
Yeah, so I couldn't choose which widespread to
We
go with. So
we've
we're
got
putting all
all three
three
of
with
them are here. This is
these
like
cards are
one
all
entry on the
pretty
top
big.
10. All the widespreads together.
Yeah, and the reason is because their core mechanic is the same, right? You're gonna run all 9 of these in Vin's set. It's just you just have to, and they all essentially are 6 power cards with disruption, and that's kind of why they all are in this category. So Ruin is the Rune Gate 2. Then we have Destruction is
Destruction.
3, and Annihilation is 4.
Yeah.
Right, as far as the Rune Gate. So we can start with Ruin just for a sec. I think this is actually one of the better ones, and out of the 3, they're all quite good, but the disruption is the least prevalent because it's just banishes the top card of your deck. But it's Runegate 2, and just like having that 2 for 6, it's just so flexible because getting 2 Rune Chants is super easy. It's going to be super easy in a lot of inset decks, right? And so the fact that this will come for 2 for 6, you're able to pretty easily use the flexibility here to like if it go again with something, buffing it with something, so you can like literally pitch a blue, use what's it called? Not funeral. Envelop in the darkness. So the new card, the one for 3. So you can literally pitch a blue, envelop the darkness, and buff by 3, widespread ruin, and then it's easily
Right.
coming in for 9. And you don't have to use. You can use the other 2 floating for something else. Let's say
Right.
you can use the creepers. You can play another non-attack and attack. So it's a lot more flexible because of the Rune Gate 2, and it still comes in for 6. So it's a good popper, unless obviously they have like -1 and the Prism has some weird shit, but they need a
Yeah.
card to do that, like on a regular hand, right? So Widespread Ruin, pretty good card here. Looking at the next one,
Absolutely. Widespread destruction.
Destruction. The disruption for Destruction and Annihilation are what makes the Rune Gate 3/4. That's why they're more here. It is
Yeah.
yellow and blue, but
And that's true.
targeting
Yeah.
your arsenal.
You can pitch them for more as well, but these
Exactly.
are much more disruptive. Yeah.
Yes, so targeting your arsenal, of course, very, very useful. Runegate 3 also not like stupid hard to get. It is
Likely.
less useful. Yeah, less likely you'll be able to do like a super big useful turn out of it, but just coming with this card out of Runegate for 3, still very valuable, and banishing card from arsenal. It's less likely that you would have, like, generally you won't want to banish your own arsenal generally, because you
Right.
might be putting like Runeblade cards and not shadow, like not blood dead cards in the arsenal. But this card is still a yellow 6 power that blocks for 3 at the very least, and it's just overall such good value. They're in the
Yeah.
majestic slot for a reason here. So
Yeah. And it
a little
also
bit of
allows you to put a blood dead card in arsenal to be able to play after, right? And then you also target the opponent's arsenal too with this ability. So it's like
yeah.
it allows you to be
Targeting
more flexible with your arsenal.
Yeah, targeting the opposing arsenal is definitely the big piece.
Yeah.
And then Annihilation is from hand, so that's like
Hmm.
that's and it's banishing from hand. I'm pretty sure the hero chooses, so it's not like you just get a random card. It's not like our surgical you get to choose, but it's still extremely strong. So this is a blue popper that blocks for
Right.
3. Just
There aren't
like,
many of those.
in a nutshell. No, there aren't many of those. There are ways to get up to the 4 chance in one turn. Mainly read the runes and revel
Hmm.
are the big ones. You can also have incantations and like
Sure.
things like Funeral Moon. So if you're able to like get a non-attack, pay 1, get the rune chant down, and you're able to get it as an instant. And there's ways like to get to 4 in one turn, but I feel like you don't usually need to. You could just put it aside, make the chant, not necessarily use
Hmm.
the chance, block out and generate the chance. So this is
Yeah.
kind of like an on again, off again turn. Like if you're playing a super, super aggressive build that doesn't necessarily give you a turn to wait, it's not as good. But like I feel like where widespread definitely shines is your more mid-rangey, take a turn off, come in with some big disruption, and then snowball from there. So you'll like on your turn Vincent banish, generate your rune chant, do something. Oh, maybe you'll like block, have a last card in hand, banish it, generate a rune chant, then play read the runes, right, or something like that, and then you'll be at like 5 chance, and then you can do whatever you want. You can block with
Right.
everything and play widespread annihilation for free.
Yeah.
And then they'll have to block like 4 or 5 rune chants, which means it's 2 cards, and if they take any damage for once, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yep.
it lets you claw back with that tempo super easily, and by that chance, you might even have more blood debt, and that's where this card shines. And I think for that reason, I like this one the most.
Right.
And I like Ruin second because it's so easy to get out. Like every
Yeah.
hand, so
You
many
don't even.
hands.
There's no setup required for Ruin, right? You just
Yeah.
get the one rune chant from
So,
Vincent plus one extra, and you're there, right?
and then if you run, Mavrian Skies and that hits, this thing can come
Oh,
out.
yeah.
And there's a whole lot of things that you can get all these 3 cards out. And this is your main disruption tool of the deck. 'Cause
Yeah.
the deck slots are very tight. So that's the widespread. staple 9. You're not going to not be running 9 of these in sets.
Awesome. Okay, so number 3 on the list we have Shaden Scream. So it is a 0 cost buff 5, which face value is insane. You play it, banish a random, I think it's a random card from hand, and then your next brute or shadow attack this turn gains +5, including your weapon. So if you're running a weapon too, it'll get +5. And Levia's going to probably want to look for ways to banish from hand. Of course, a lot of the attack actions now do that, but this is going to be a card that will allow you to utilize more cards from your hand when you don't have Go Again necessarily. And if you also happen to banish a card that can be played from the banish zone, then you're just looking very good, because you can play Shaden Scream, banish one card that we're going to we'll talk about later, the Shadowpede, right? The 1 for 6 that can be played from banish zone, and you play something else from hand with Go Again potentially, then finish it off with a Shadowpede for like a bajillion damage. You're probably looking at like 15 damage at least there. So it's a really good card, I think. I think most decks are going to run 3 in my opinion. We'll see how it shakes out, but this is going to be pretty much a bread and butter, I think, card for Levi.
Yeah, you might even run the reds and the blues. Like, this is just a pure block 3 non-attack that's going to be super good into Bolton. It's going to be super good in general to get those like 3-card double-digit turns. And it's very, very good, as you said, with the Shadowpede. I think the direct comparison is Unworldly Bellow, right? The one for 4, but it is additional cost 3. But the nice thing here is you don't have to banish 3 with multiple hits. So you might not hit like multiple Blood Debt and start your Blood Debt train too early with too much Blood Debt. Here it's just an additional random card from hand. Yeah, so it might only look like a 2-card 5, but then, as Rob alluded to, if you can, it just banish a random card. It doesn't need to be like a Shadow Root or a 6 power or whatever, right?
Right.
Which is kind of where that shows the World of Bells. This will work also very well with like that Shadow Recursion package. Maybe you'll run some Ghostlies or some like Shadow 6s or what. Like I think there were a couple Demagon, stuff like that, like the 6-power Demagon. So there are quite a few good combos with Shaden Scream for just such good additional value.
I'll also add that there's no requirement for what type of card you have to banish. It's not like if you banish a 6-attack card, you get +5. It's like if you banish anything, basically you get the +5 no matter what. So it's a consistent card, I think. If you're looking just to play this in weapon swing for like 10, it might be okay. So
it's just an attack. It's just a brute or shadow attack. It's so nice. Yeah, it's so nice.
Okay. All right, number 4 on the list, we have the new brute helmet, the Scowling Flesh Bag. I saw this and I was immediately like mind blown, because this card's really good. Basically, as a headpiece, blocking 2 is the de facto like the
Blade Break 2, yeah.
Blade Break 2 is kind of, exactly. It's on par with a lot of other helmets that block 2, but when this defends, you intimidate. So I'm looking at this card, and I'm looking at a get out of jail free card for like your opponent puts on the aggression with like a big combo starter, attacks you. Okay, block with the Scowling Flesh Bag, potentially get a card from their hand that they really need for that turn, and just kind of like stop their turn for almost nothing. It's so good. You can play this anytime you want, once per game, to get out of any trouble really that you might find yourself into. So I think it's really, really good. I might play this in every brute deck, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it, and I'm probably gonna get roasted, but I think this is the best card in the set.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a roast. Just objectively speaking, as far as power levels goes for this class specifically, you gotta look at it objectively speaking here. What does Brute historically have issues into? Very aggressive hyper decks that you can't just intimidate their hand and take away the game. What does this card do? Literally blocks and takes away a card from hand.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when you're looking at everything you want a card to do in a particular matchup that you're struggling in, does this card not have everything? The art's also pretty sick too. It's like
it's like the Skull Horn, but with extra stuff.
Like, what are you losing? Crown of Providence?
It's
Providence. Wasn't that useful? Was it that useful?
You typically want to arsenal your Blood Rush anyway, so you're not really going to want to be Providencing that card out of there. Yeah.
Exactly. And Blood Rush, like, I could Providence and Blood Rush to the bottom. So but then
you're kind of shooting yourself in the whole game. Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like this card, it just allows you so much more flexibility, because you could be like, oh, they're not taking damage. It's like, okay, maybe when they go ham, this is the turn I should Scowling on their 5-card
Yeah.
hand, because if they take away that card, you could be preventing a lot of damage, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. And especially if you're holding
feel like
on
it's pretty
to
good.
like the combo as brute, like you have a blood rush and arsenal, and you just can't afford to block, or else
Exactly.
your hand
Yep.
becomes way worse. Then all you gotta do is block with this, and you're likely gonna survive and come back with a bunch of tempo. So I think this is gonna be an amazing card. All right,
Yeah. I still think it's the best
the best.
objective card.
Yeah,
Power level in the set. It deserves the legendary slot,
I
100%.
think
Probably
so.
like easy.
Number
Deathly Whale.
5.
So
Yeah,
this is interesting. This is a very interesting card. I love that his mouth it just keeps going open. It's just like this is not the face I had when I saw the card,
this is
but it's the
Vincent,
face of a
right?
lot of other people.
This,
This is Vincent?
I
I
thought
don't
it was because the needles in the arm. Maybe I'm wrong.
maybe. I think they all just have needles in the arm.
Maybe.
But anyway.
Okay.
Anyways, so we have Deathly Whale here. It is a Runegate 3. So Runegate Shadow Blood Debt card is going to be... You're going to need a certain number of them in your Vincent deck. Probably around like the 33 to 42-ish range, depending on like what your deck is going through. So these cards are definitely going to have a lower barrier to entry because you're going to need a certain amount of them. That being said, I think Deathly Whale is probably one of the best ones, just because of its innate ratios, coupled with the fact that it's Blood Debt Runegate. So Blood Debt meaning that you can, banish it to Vincent and still play it, like the same turn or the following turn. Runegate meaning you don't actually have to pay the 3 costs, but like if you want to pitch 3 in your hand and you have it, it still does the effect, right? So
Yeah.
it has that flexibility, and you are going to be running a fair number of blues in the deck, probably, given the regular stats here. But when the combat change closes, this is the most important part of why I think is a top 10 card. When the chain closes, create rune chance equal to the number of heroes who have lost life
So
this
hoping
turn.
hoping for 2.
Hoping, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's really easy because you just shadow non-attack,
Yeah.
activates Vincent.
So
that's
you got one
hero
at
'cause he was
least.
alive.
Yeah.
And then
Having a
and then
rune
your
chance.
rune chant, which you have to generate every single turn, pretty
Right.
much, unless you don't have any cards, right? So that's gonna get through off any attack, and that's gonna do 1 damage also, or what 1 life. They've lost life that turn.
Yep.
And so Deathly Whale is just gonna set up two rune chants for the next. And what have we just like? How many Runegate 2 cards? There's so many Runegate 2 cards. But the second thing is
Yeah, this guy.
that allows you to both
Widespread rune.
that allows you to both
Yeah.
block with 4 cards if you want. As Vincent, you could block with 4 cards. Then you don't get the rune chant off the Vincent because you have nothing to banish. And then you just play a Runegate 2 for 6, and you've blocked for like 12 with 4 cards. So you're coming in for 18 over 2 turns, right? Overall value.
Right.
Or
right.
you keep 1 card, banish that card, get a rune chant, then you have a free Runegate 3 card. So you could play something like the one that banishes Arsenal. So then you have disruption
Right.
on a stick.
This guy.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, yeah, sure. It either takes a full block, because if any damage gets through, yeah, it's not going to be the forcing that 1 rune chant with the non-attack to force the rune chant to make sure this has the effect. But they still have to give you cards, otherwise they're going to lose their arsenal, right? So I
Yep.
feel that Deathly Whale just allows you to keep that consistency, and I'd be very surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if every single Vincent runs the reds and the blues at the very least.
Right. Yeah, it just refuels the rune chance that you need for Rune Gate. So
So good. It's a 3 for 8.
yeah, but yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's just good math right there.
It's true. It's true. And then I can imagine
Lots for
like
3.
you're gonna play like a Malveon Skies on top of this card.
Oh, yeah.
Attack, give it go
Oh,
again.
100%.
Close the combat chain, get 2 rune chance, keep going. Right. It's a really good card.
Exactly. Close the combat chain,
Yeah.
play your 2 for 6, and then you're coming in for like 14 off that shit. Like it's pretty nuts.
All right, number 6 we have Deathly Delight.
So Deathly Delight is the second Shadow Runeblade card I've picked here. Deathly Delight is an interesting card. It is a Runegate 2 cards. I think your Runegate 2 cards are going to be at a premium here. So that and the Widespread Ruin, just because earlier how I mentioned how easy it is for you to have 2 rune chants up. It's super easy in the deck, right? You can have like Incantation, you can anything can pop, the Blood Moon, whatever, right?
Yeah,
so,
Blood Moon. Yeah.
So the main reason Delight is in here is not just because when I mentioned earlier is the Runegate 2 are a premium just because of how easy they are to play, but also because balancing your life total is going to be very, very important in this set because you have not only your Blood Debt dealing damage to you, but the actual Shadow ability, Vincent's ability, actually on the Shadow non-attack doing damage to you. What the Light gets to do is you get to pay for Vincent for free and then gain a life, right? Because when the chain closes, you gain life equal to the number of heroes who lost life. So what you do is you play a non-attack, Vincent, lose the life, but the rune chant's going to do the damage regardless, right? So they're going to lose the life. So you're going to gain 2 life.
Mm-hmm.
And you've only spent 1 life to do so. So it's really you're getting another ratio in there, right? So it's more of a 2 for 6 when it's all said and done, which is pretty good ratio on like a nice stock stable card.
Yep.
It's a nice 3 block. It's easy to play. And again, you can still play it from hand. You can Mauvrian Skies into if Rosetta's still along, you can Rosetta
Right.
after this if you want to for a pretty big hit here. But the fact that you need RuneGate 2 Blood Dead cards in the deck, this is one of the best ones.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a lot of these kind of, gain life equal to number of heroes that have lost health this turn, or like do so and so if heroes have lost health, and it's like, if people start blocking a rune chance, it's gonna be kind of sad. It's like if you're a control deck pitching a lot for rune chance, it's like, okay, I can see like this deck not being as strong, but you gotta not take damage from the rune chance. You gotta not take damage from like any of the attacks before this. So it's like it's gonna be hard to avoid taking damage.
It's just a chain. It doesn't even have to be from
exactly.
Death to Life. It's just the chain in general.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. I think it's a great card.
It's quite nice. Yeah.
Okay, we're at number 7, I believe. This is the card I was talking about earlier. So the Slithering Shadowpeed.
The artwork on this card is nuts. If
this
guy,
nightmares.
Oh man, what's his? I can't. It's like Othon, right?
Is that a magic thing?
No. The artist name at the very bottom.
Oh, I'm sorry. Othon. Yeah, Othon, exactly.
You don't do the artist. This guy has done so many good, like the amount of cards he's done that I've wanted to get signed is just like a very large list.
Yeah.
There's just like one more to add to the list.
As far as I know, he hasn't been at a major event yet.
He's been in one of the European, maybe the Twerp or something like that.
The ones that I haven't, we haven't been to, basically. But
anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so. So speaking of cards that you want to be able to play from the banish zone as Levia, this is probably the best card you can. You can banish from hand or banish from anywhere and play because actually from hand only. I'm sorry. But it is a 1 for 6 that you can play from banish, and I think that because of Levia's the new card pool she's getting is all about banishing from hand. If you can, play what was it the Shaden Scream and banish the Shadowpeed, you're basically paying 1 card, 2 cards, with Shadowpeed, and then attacking with, let's say, something with Go Again, like a weapon. So you pitch for that, and you come in with Shadowpeed on top of that after. You're basically looking at a 12, 13 damage turn with 3 cards. So that is really strong. Of course, it takes some setup to do that, but you're always going to be happy to banish this card from hand. I think that every Levia who runs any hand banish is going to play 3 of these for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the ideal turn for this card is you have your blue, you play like your 2 for 6 Go Again. I think there are definitely cards that like I think the one something.
The Ram or something, I forget the name. Yeah. But basically banish from hand 2 for 6, and if you banish a 6 attack card, get Go Again. Yeah.
Or like a pulping or something. Obviously, it could take some luck here.
Yeah,
but,
Dread Screamer.
Something with Go Again.
There are options.
Something that you pitch towards here. Yeah, exactly. Dread Screamer being like probably the best one you could do there. You Screamer, you have one floating. You Shaden Scream, guaranteed to discard and Slithering Shadowpeed. And then you're coming in 6 for Screamer, 5, 6, 5, 6. You're coming in for 17 on the 3 card.
Yeah.
On a casual 3
really
card hand.
Strong.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, it's a 4 card hand, but it's 1 pitch and
3 cards expended for the combo.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's a 4 card hand, but it's very, very stock damage that's very hard to deal with.
Yeah, and it fits the theme perfectly. Banish from hand, play from banish. That's what you want basically. So 100%.
17 damage to 4 card hands, pretty good.
Quite good. Okay, number 8. Soulbond Resolve.
Soulbond Resolve. So it was tricky because I was looking also at the other warrior arm piece, the Iron Song Versus. I landed on I think the Versus is in the top 20. I just missed the mark here, and the reason is because mainly not just the power level of this card, but the fact that Bolton just didn't have a chest piece, right? Like he was running either Tunic, or he was running Courageous in the Centauri build. Now, in Centauri Saber, sorry, like the
Courage of Bladehold.
Yeah, the Courage of Bladehold, exactly. So, if you are playing, I think you're gonna see a lot more Raiden builds and a lot more like Sword Blister. I forgot what the other sword's called, but like a lot more sword builds, right?
Right.
because of that, I think Courage of Bladehold, first of all, it doesn't matter because like those cards generally, like Raiden doesn't cost
It's a
anything,
zero
so
cost.
it's a
Exactly.
zero cost,
Yeah.
right? Soul Bond Resolve has two very important pieces here. The when it defends, you can charge.
That's
That's super
amazing.
good because
Yeah.
you get two charges out of this card.
Right.
Like you just get two charges. So what you're able to do is you get two charges, you get three block, and you get prevention twice. So unless it's like a Vid set, which is kind of awkward, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the first time you've been dealt damage, and if you've charged this turn, well, you probably will because
You should.
you're charging for it. Yeah, because it's when this defends. So essentially, when it defends, you charge and it goes top to bottom. So you'll have that for the same effect here,
Right.
right?
That's
So
true.
it prevents three armor because of temper,
Hmm?
right? So three physical and two prevention. It's a five block
Yeah.
card.
5 block
Like
with 2 charges.
five block with two charges, right? And the thing is, if you charge the yellow, if you might be and the cards to say like if you
Right.
charge this card, gain a
Gain
courage, gain a
courage or
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Like, isn't this insane? Like,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
like the synergy just like super good for Bolton? I feel like this chess piece alone makes me want to play more Bolton.
It's
Like
true. Yeah. I
it
mean,
seems insane the actual value of this card.
five health. You're looking basically at a carry on Husk at that point, right? Like six, it's a
You
six
are,
block.
and I
So
think
it's
that's the idea,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or
So
like,
much block on a card. So like 5 health extra on Bolton really helps you set up those Lumina turns. It gives you that, if you have to really block something but you can't afford to give a card from hand. Well,
yeah.
besides the card you charge, this card's going to come in for sure.
Yeah, and I think because all the bannerets have that text on it, like when
Yeah.
this is charged into your soul duo, whatever,
Right.
you can soul bond, and then charge
A Banneret.
and a bad banneret country,
Yeah.
and now you're starting to turn with a quicken. You don't
Yeah.
even need an opening, even if they
That's
don't
true.
block as go again.
Yeah.
You can get the courage get +1, and then you have it for sure. So this just like enables you to just put a card into soul, keep your 3 card, possibly your arsenal turn, and just keep going. Like you don't have to wait. It fixes awkward hands super easily, and Bolton had a bunch of awkward hands. So I really love this. Is probably this is up there with the brute headpiece. I just think the brute headpiece is just hilarious.
Yeah.
Because yeah, and Reinhardt can use it, and that's kind of why I'm giving the headpiece like a bit of an edge there, because both Levia
Right.
and Reinhardt.
I'm so glad it's
whereas
not
this
just the
is
Shadow
even
Brute.
Bolton.
It's all
Yeah,
brutes.
exactly, right? Exactly. So Soul Bond is a little bit lower for me because it's only Bolton. But like
Right.
Bolton is just gonna get super good use of this card.
Yeah. Yep. Ditto on all those points. I think it's going to be a must-have in Bolton. You probably don't even run Tunic anymore with this card. To be seen, but I think this card's going to trump Tunic.
3 armor is hard to ignore. 3 armor and 2 prevention,
Yeah.
hard to ignore.
Yeah. All right,
But,
that is Soul Bond Resolve.
I will say very briefly on the other piece here that was going to be Iron Song
The versus?
very briefly here why it kind of is in like maybe a top 15 top 20 spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's partially because I mean Warrior Arms in the legendary slot already exist, first of all, right?
Yeah.
So you already have a 3 blocking card where once you block for 2 and 1 as Battle Worn, so it doesn't go away, so you can keep using it, right? And well, the actual ability, so the once per turn pay 1 your next sword attack this turn when it hits, create a courage token. It's very, very good in that it enables Bolton specifically to enable his Raiden to actually have an on hit because people just don't bother blocking that card. So now what you're is put an on hit, set it up with a courage, and then with a courage you can set literally anything up to give go again if you have soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the courage is an excellent tool for that, yeah.
The one issue, the weakness here is this temper, meaning if you do want to get your full 3 block, you won't be able to use the ability anymore. And with the wow, I forgot Dory's regular arm piece.
The bracers, Brave Forge bracers. That's it.
Right. So Brave Forge bracers you can block for 3. So the point is like it still probably edges out just because that ability lets you like free swing a Dawnblade, like just a naked Dawnblade now just has an on hit, whereas generally you needed to do something before because the other one you have to swing, hit already, and then your second swing, then you actually activate Brave Forge, right? So Iron Song gives you an ability to be able to use some kind of on hit for the first one. So it edges it out, but then it's minus because you don't get to use the full 3 block. So it's better, but not by like compare Soul Bond to like Tunic and Bladehold. Right, Courage of Bladehold. It's just like miles ahead. And that's kind of why Iron Song is very good, but Soulbound Soulbound. Oh my god, why do I keep saying Soulbound? It
Is
just
that the name
feels
of a
better if
game
it's
or something? Anyway, yeah.
probably, but just like a shadow. It sounds like a shadow equipment, like Soulbound
Yeah,
Resolve or
yeah.
something like that. Anyways, so that's kind of a bit of a tangent as like an
Yeah.
honorable mention there, but
Yeah,
that's
both
the card.
legendary warrior pieces, but this one just has so much more
Light
going for
Warrior,
it
yeah.
that this is
That's
the
one Light
one we
Warrior, the other warrior.
chose for the slot. Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
All right, we've got number 9. As we talked about bannerets,
This we just talked about, yeah.
this is one of them. I think they're all fine. I mean, they all have their own uses, but I want to highlight the Banneret of Courage being my favorite of the three. So basically, when this is charged to your hero's soul, you create the Courage token. So that's a token that gives you +1 more attack on the next attack you do. And basically, this is going to be a very prime target to charge into your soul because the +1 attack is going to be giving you that potential go again with Bolton's ability. So if you have a card in soul and you get the +1 from Courage, then you're basically going to get go again on whatever you want. So I think the other ones were create the Quicken token and
Spellbound Aegis. So
the
the
Aegis.
Spell Void one, I think.
Spell,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's right, yeah. So the go again is fine with the Quicken, but this one gives you the go again anyway because of Bolton's ability. So you might as well take the extra damage if you have the soul there. And then the Aegis, well, it might be more situational, but it'll have its place. Although I don't think it's as universally good as the Banneret of Courage. It's also a 1/4 yellow, which is fine, and it blocks for 3. So I think even if you want to play this as 1/4, it's fine. Really, there's
Playing it's fine. Pitching it for like pitching as a yellow, like there could be decks that definitely want to be pitching. Oh, put library in this deck, pitching yellow could be
true.
very useful for that kind of thing. And I think there is something to be said about Banneret of Gountry being quite close to this, giving the Quicken token.
Right.
But kind of as Rob alluded to it, like if you're generally going to have a fair amount of soul, especially with a lot of these effects just getting you more soul, like his Majestic, Light Warrior Majestic, the +2, and then if you flip a light card, if you reveal a light card, a yellow card off the top, you get to draw it and then charge something.
And then charge something.
There's going to be more, there's been charge mechanics, the chess piece obviously allowing you to charge. So there's going to be ample times, I think, for Bolton to have that charge ability, and gaining go again is just really not as much of a struggle as it was.
Right.
That the +1 damage really just helps with those breakpoints.
Yeah, breakpoints.
Turn 3s into 4s, 6s into 7s.
Like I think Bolt of Courage is like a 0/3 that draws a card on hit, right? So it's like that's for 4, so you got to respect it a little more.
Yeah, if they had a non-attack that blocks for 3, they no longer can just like shove that onto it, right?
Yeah, or armor for that matter, right? It's like now you got to respect this thing. Yeah, so I think the Bannerets are all great, but the Courage I think is my favorite. All right, lastly we have Celestial Reprimand.
It was tough for me to actually put a Light Illusionist card on here because a lot of the Light Illusionist cards are all just reprints of the Heralds. The non-foil extended arts. So I didn't have a lot to choose from here. It was really just like I was looking at all the figments.
Yeah.
The issue is, like, as we prefaced before, I'm looking for the objective strength of a card, and I'm looking for how it would slot into what the general deck would look like. And I think the figments are all good, kind of like the dragons. However, I don't know how well that deck works. In general, right?
It's kind of hard to conceptualize that engine right now, right?
Sure, exactly. And I think there are some figments that are better than like the figment, the Erudition figment.
Erudition.
Soul Draw 2. Yeah, Erudition, sorry.
Yeah.
And like protection, I think gives you the figment itself gives you a spectral when it enters, and
which is actually quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're able to, like, honorable mention, like those ones, and then you're able to the angel itself, when you attack, you could banish a card and create 2 spectrals. I don't know what weapon that hero is going to use. I don't know like what strategy is going to be ideal. This card, I think, came in here because first it's a yellow. Well, it comes in yellow. It's not only yellow.
But you'll probably play the yellow.
You'll probably play the yellow. So because it pitches for all the heralds, right? And you can double pitch 2 yellows for a 4 cost. So any of the 4 cost auras, any of the figments, whatever, what have you. You could pitch to swing your angel, right? So 2 is really the sweet point here. Yeah, you're gonna run library, go nuts, right?
Yep.
But it also covers both breakpoints, your 6 power poppers and your 7 power poppers, because there are a bunch of like Phantom Banshees is 7 power,
right?
Runic Reclamation. There's a bunch of brute cards that are 7 power.
Celestial Cataclysm as well, if that's being run. Another 7.
Exactly. And the reason this is in top 10 is it says target card defending an attack with Herald in its name. You remember all those cards? You remember Blinding Beam? It
Yeah.
costs 1, and then if it's a shadow, it's
Shadow
targeting a shadow.
specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then it goes minus whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, but it still costs 1 in a lot of the scenarios, right? And the fact is,
Yeah.
this is CC. You're not guaranteed to see that many shadow heroes.
Yeah.
And there are other
Absolutely.
cards that don't block, like Angelic, whatever, gives +4 to heralds, does this to heralds, does
Right.
that to heralds.
Yeah.
Overall, I think this is the best use because it targets literally just a card defending an attack on the combat chain, and allows your heralds to actually hit. And you're gonna need your heralds to hit in this deck
Yeah.
to be able to like get actual soul and get the effects going
To
and to
awaken
actually make
your
the deck
figments,
work.
basically.
Exactly, too. Yeah, because you got to get it in soul, and then I guess you can use the new legendary
Oh, what was
chest to
it?
make
The
it cheaper.
discounts?
Costs
Yeah.
less. Yeah, it
Yeah.
costs 2 less. You're able to use Prism to awaken for free essentially that turn,
Hmm.
after you tutor out your Figment. So
Right.
all of that depends on your Herald hitting. I think Herald hitting is going to be
Yeah.
important, and you only have you got Footsteps, right? But it doesn't make it
It won't go into
dead.
soul.
It doesn't make it hit. Exactly, it doesn't
Yeah.
make it hit. It just gives you another chance, right?
Exactly.
And so this card I say is probably a 3 of in yellow for probably I
Every
think every
Herald
Prism deck.
based deck.
But like what? Yeah, every Herald based deck. But I think like the key here is Herald. They're looking to push Herald, so
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is probably the
I think
best
all Prism
objective
decks are
card
going to
I
be
can
Herald
see.
decks, basically.
They're all running Heralds. It just depends on how many, right? So
Yeah.
even the Aura based ones ran Heralds.
It's true. Yeah.
So
The War Tune and Erudition, of course,
yeah,
right? So, yeah.
no,
Yeah. That's our top 10, basically. I'm sure we might have
top 10.
missed something, but
We definitely missed.
As Eric said, the figments are all really cool. We wanted to find something that was kind of more neutral to put for the Illusionist card pool, and this is one that we
Mhm.
think is going to fit, basically all the decks. It's going to enable the main mechanic of the deck, which is the heralds going into soul, hitting, going into soul. But the figments are yet to be seen. Which ones are going to be the best? Which ones are going to be, or how many do you run? Really, like the ratios for that kind of deck.
Yep.
It's like because they all cost 4. You don't want to draw them really, so it might clog up your deck anyway. So it's basically a big question mark right now. But yeah, that's the top 10.
It's all
Yeah.
just a figment of our imagination at the moment. A couple like
Right.
other mentionable cards that we didn't put
Mm.
on the list, but possibly in the top 20 here. Funeral Moon for Shadow Runeblade is a pretty easy enabler to get that extra rune chant.
Yep.
Leviathan Redeemed Consumed. We didn't touch this card because it's
Mm.
not a card in the main deck. It's
Right.
going to be like a card kind of in the sideboard, and we were focusing more on cards that are going to be in the main deck. It's a very impactful card.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just didn't want to like it has to be evaluated under separate circumstances, right? So we didn't want to put it with this. Expendable Limbs, very, very good 0 for 4 blue that enables you to like banish a card and play it.
Mhm.
In Shadow Brute, which is going to be like a heavier kind of piece
Yep.
where you're actually trying to banish specific cards that come out.
Right.
Envelop in Darkness, good card, just not enough space in the top 10.
Yep.
1 for 3 that creates a rune chance, so 1 for 4,
Mm-hmm.
super good Shadow Revealing non-attack action. Ram Raider, a nice 2 for 6 that can get go
That's
again.
one of the only go agains from the banished cards. Yeah.
Shaden Death Hydra, which is just a
This-
wild
The
looking
6
card.
for 13. Yeah.
6 for 13.
I'm gonna
like,
play
what
it.
is that
I'm
number?
definitely playing
Oh
that
yeah.
card.
Like try to reduce the attack of that one for some popper. Good luck.
Play 3 celestial reprimands. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, like you're gonna need 3 celestials there. So
Yeah.
that's one here. Sensor could be a nice sideboard tech option depending
Yeah.
on what the meta looks like.
Yeah.
Last one is interesting card, Poison the Well.
Yeah.
Possibly really good sideboard tech against control
just
decks that have a
like-
lot of life gain.
I'm
This would be
imagining,
super
like,
good when Oldham was still a deck.
Yeah, or like Dromai playing a sigil, and you're like, that sigil actually deals 3 damage now. Like that's
No.
no.
Or just like Mage Master's Tome.
Mm.
Poison the Well.
Oh,
Lose
the
4
tome.
life.
Oh,
Lose 4 life.
that's so
That would be
rough.
great.
I mean,
That
yeah,
is
because you're
trouble.
it's basically gonna be a 1-for-1 at that point, right? They're playing 1 card to heal, you're playing 1 card to, negate that, and then they lose health.
Yeah.
So it's like not just
Card doesn't
negating
block,
the
though.
healing, it's like making it negative. I think it's gonna be a good sideboard into control decks that come up, or any like specific tech that is just like really annoying, like Major Masters into Tome, for example, right? So
You just
it,
wait for Sigil or wait for Tome.
wait
And
for
you're just
yeah.
sitting and waiting. You're just sitting and waiting,
Yeah,
and
it
your
might be
main
hard to
goal of
sit
the
on
game.
it, but I think it's basically going to be game breaking if you get it off. It's so good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's literally gonna be like it's a -6. It's a 6 swing on the
Mm.
Sigil because instead of gaining 3, you're losing 3. So
Right.
it's literally like a full 6, and for Tome it
Exactly.
could be a full 8, right?
Yeah.
Because instead of gaining, you're losing. You can't look at it as like they're just losing 4. It's like no,
It's
no.
true.
They've also saved resources to try to gain 4. So it's a net 8 swing. You can't look at it on only
True.
one side of it, right?
True.
So
True.
very good, very interesting card too. But that's our top 10. If you like this kind of content, if you really like, comment, subscribe. If we missed some cards, if you want to like shout at us, that's totally okay. If you want to agree with us, that's also okay too. We're used to it at this point. And with that, from wherever you're watching in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.